All right, so now let's look at entering into the pinch headlock from a butterfly half guard. Now, I understand that this is going to look almost identical to what you saw in the pinch headlock from the seated series, but you have to understand there are going to be people who didn't watch those instructionals that need this information from a half guard. So again, I'm not going to go too far into detail with it because it's already in another instructional. I don't want to get repetitive, and most of you who have the seated guard will also have the half guard and vice versa. But that being said, if you choose to never buy the seated guard, this is going to be very important for your development going into a pinch headlock. All right, so similarly with a butterfly half guard and a pinch headlock, it's pretty similar to a full seated guard with a pinch headlock. A lot of the same attacks we're going to enter into a lot of the same attacks from here, but just the initial setup from a butterfly half guard. And it's a big part of what you're going to be doing from here because, again, you're in a situation where you always want to be able to get to your partner's legs to some degree. So we use an underhook to climb our way into our partner's legs, either with a sumigashi, like so, and then we go into attacks on our partner's legs, or we can't get the sumigashi action and control of our partner's hand, we can go into scoop grips. Now, we're always going to be in situations we're going to find ourselves in where our partner sprawls the leg back as soon as we get to an underhook, like so, okay? Where you get a situation where you try to scoop, you try to sumigashi, and you feel like your partner's just moving away from you. Okay, so now they're stalling a little bit more. So if she's in bottom position and she gets a good underhook, my main goal is to make sure that she can't scoop into my far leg. So what everyone's going to do is they're going to tuck this right leg in, and they're going to sit back like so, and they're going to move away from you. So now when she goes to hit a sumigashi, it's hard. When she goes to start moving into a situation where she goes to scoop the leg, I can use my head to block, and it's hard. She can bring her head inside mine, and even if she goes to scoop my leg with good head position, go ahead. It's hard. I can move away. I can start stalling from here. Okay. So whenever I see I'm in a situation where the far leg is away, just know that you always have the ability, because I'm sprawling the far leg so far away and I'm moving back and away, you can always just move to a seated butterfly guard and forward shift, because now you're no longer trapped in a half guard. Okay, so just understand that. If you want to move to a seated guard and someone's stalling, this is what I mentioned in the beginning. But understand also that, just as we always talk about, you're always going to have that basic relationship between lower body and upper body attacks. If the lower body is no longer there, the upper body always is. So we start off with an underhook like so. We look to start going into sumigashis or scoops. Your partner sprawls the far leg behind. Okay, so now we feel like we can't get to the far leg. Whenever we see this, we're trying to elevate our partner. We're trying to come in and under. We're trying to scoop like so. Our partner's monitoring. We just feel like we can't get anything going from the situation. We're just going to come in and connect our wrist to our partner's far trap muscle. From here, we're going to come in and we're going to take our right hand and just grab over our own wrist like so. And now we're going to start pulling our partner into situations where we pull into a strong pinch headlock from here. Now, the key with any pinch headlock is my hand positioning. What I don't want, just bring your knee in so you're comfortable. What I don't want from any pinch headlock is my hands centered between my partner's two shoulder blades. This is absolutely wrong. Your partner will always put her head back on your center line, pull the elbow down, and now the arm will always come inside and the elbow will slip. Okay? What I want to make sure of is that I have my wrist connected to my partner's far trap muscle and my hands in front of my partner's shoulders and collarbone on the opposite side. So I can keep my partner's forehead connected to my shoulder. When she goes to bring her head back to center, it's impossible. When she goes to bring her elbow down and slip, also impossible. And now when she goes to move or post to my head or move around from here, I can easily control my partner with this pinch headlock. The big mistake everybody makes, they go for pinch headlocks, is they let their hands drift to center, where my hands move from the shoulder to the center line. Now when she goes to recover, it's like a joke, and her head instantly comes in. So when I go to feed into this pinch headlock, from the initial underhook, I move from a power prop, I have good head position. From the situation, I take my hand and I just drape it over my partner's shoulder. Now from here, I just go in, I connect my hands like so, and I start falling down to a shoulder. I make sure my left elbow stays high. I close my left knee into my partner's rib cage. So when she tries to even circle back towards my center line, she can't. Even if my hands were in poor position, it would still be harder for her to start to bring her elbow in because I'm not flat on my back anymore. When she goes to circle and flip the elbow, she eventually will be able to do it. Go ahead. But it'll take a little bit longer. So I want my left knee closing in towards my partner's ribcage, as we talked about before when we exposed the underhook. I want my hands in front of my partner's far shoulder like so, and I want my left elbow high towards my partner's shoulder line. When she goes to move from here, it's not an easy thing. And from this situation, we can start going into all of our attacks with either butterfly half guard sumigeshis, entrances into the legs, or later knee levers from a knee shield half guard. Okay, so let's take a look at some of those entrances now from a pinch headlock. Okay, again, we're gonna go into some pinch headlock stuff. Either way, someone's gonna complain about this. If I didn't add it, someone was gonna complain. If I added it, they're gonna be like, oh, I just showed the same stuff you showed in the seated guard. Okay, I understand it's a bit repetitive, but it is half guard stuff you guys need to know. So I'm gonna breeze through this. And if you want in detail, in depth pinch headlock stuff, just reference the seated guard. And there's going to be a lot more attacks from there and a lot more detail, attention to detail with a pinch headlock. All right, but we initially go into a pinch headlock like so, and we fall down to her shoulder. Now, we're still in a half guard. Okay, she still has my bottom leg trapped from here. She's in tight like so. I'm still in a half guard. My goal from a pinch headlock and a butterfly half guard is just to expose a situation where I can get my bottom knee inside to move to a seated guard. Okay, so from the situation, I'm just going to look to start off balancing my partner with a sumigeshi over to my right side. Okay, now your partner has two choices. She can accept the sumigeshi or she can push back into you and play a basic dilemma game. If your partner accepts the sumigeshi, I start elevating out like so. If your partner doesn't post the hand on the floor and she lets her head drift down towards the floor, your partner's just going to fall over. Okay, so if I feel my partner's not posting the hand like so, and she just walks her hips out and away from me, and she just falls over, I can just look to push with my right foot, and you're just going to elevate your partner, and she's just going to fall over, and you get an easy sweep. So you have to threaten this, and elicit that will elicit a full pushback reaction. If I just try to elevate my partner on top of me, number one, it's going to be difficult because my bottom knee is still trapped. So when I go to elevate my partner with this pinch headlock, it just pulls her back on top of me, and now I have no ability to lift with my right foot. Okay, number two, if she's not pushing back into me and she just sags down to her hip, it's going to be impossible for me to pull her on top. So you always have to start with a strong sumigeshi action, right shoulder. Okay, this is going to make her, one, base out and either fall over and gives me top pin, okay, or two, it's going to force her to base out and her knee is going to come out and her hand's going to post on the floor. Okay, now my bottom knee is free. So now I can continue to push. If she doesn't push back into me, she gets swept. So as she goes to push back into me, I just use my foot on the floor to hit a reverse shrimp underneath my partner. So as she goes to move in towards me, I just shrimp underneath my partner like so, and move to a full butterfly guard. Okay. What I want is to just free this bottom knee. So initially I move in here. As she goes to move towards me, I just bring my knee into my chest and then I scoop underneath my partner. Now, as she goes to push back in, I'm just going to look to start lifting over to my left side, like so, and guiding her over, using her momentum, pushing back into me, and taking her over with the sumigeshi back to the opposite side. Okay? And again, there's all different kinds of leg positions, hizaguruma actions you can use that we went over in the seated guard, but it's just going to take too much time to do today, so I'm just going to show you the basic ideas. All right? So we use that initial pinch headlock from a half guard. Now we're in a butterfly half guard with the pinch headlock. Our entire goal is to start moving to a butterfly half guard. Right? The reason why we use a pinch headlock is because we can't access a sumigeshi action and expose our partner's legs, and they're sprawling everything back and away from us, disengaging. Okay? Whenever I see this, we start with an initial sumigeshi action. If your partner does nothing, she falls over. As she goes to push back into me, I bring my knee to my chest, and from here, as she goes to push back in, I just scoot underneath my partner, and I start lifting to the opposite side. Again, I make sure my hands never drift to the center. She'll always pull her arm down, slip the elbow, and bring the head and elbow back inside. So I make sure that as I start lifting, she goes to push back into me. I keep everything over the shoulder. When she goes to bring the elbow in, post the hand out. It's not an easy thing, but we can easily elevate our partner up and over. So from our initial underhook, we set up from butterfly guard, butterfly half guard. We get an underhook in place. We have good head position. We try to go for the sumigashi. We can't get to the hand. She's sprawling the leg back and just moving far away from it. I feel like I'm losing this battle here. All right, this is the perfect opportunity now to come in and expose the upper body. When the lower body's not there, they go in for the upper body. Okay. Now from this situation, we start lifting. She goes to drive into me. We go back in the opposite direction for a multi-directional sumigashi from a pinch headlock. So another thing we went over in detail is the shoulder crunch sumigashi and the seated guard. I'm just going to touch on it here so you guys can reference it from a butterfly half guard. So we enter into initially a pinch headlock like so, and from here we get our partner moving out and away from us. All right, we can always switch from a pinch headlock into a shoulder crunch sumigashi, where from here I take my hands from the far shoulder over to the near shoulder, and I take my hands and I lock them in a wrist-to-wrist grip like so. Now, I start lifting my partner over in this direction. All right, we saw, of course, in the seated guard instructional, we can use the reverse collar tie to start lifting our partner up and over if she doesn't give us any pushback reaction. Okay, the whole thing from a butterfly half guard when we're working at the upper body, again, is to free our bottom knee. The initial sumigashi does that. So now, once we free this bottom knee, we're essentially in an open guard. Okay, this is, again, the integration of the different guards. We start to initially use a reverse collar tie to lift our partner up and over, and as she gives us that pushback reaction, we go into the shoulder crunch like so. And now from here, we can play a game where we can forward shift, we can go to triangles, we can do all of our open guard stuff, or we can just simply hit a sumigashi out to the opposite side and create a win with a shoulder crunch to a pinch headlock to a shoulder crunch. So we get that initial pinch headlock locked up, we elevate our partner over, and now make a switch to a shoulder crunch from what is essentially now an open guard. Okay, from the situation, we feel like our partner's sitting where she is. We go reverse collar tie and we start pushing the chin to the chest and elevating. If she goes over, great. If not, she pushes back into me. We go shoulder crunch, making sure we again keep the elbow high. If my elbow comes low, she pulls the elbow down and she slips inside. So my elbow has to stay nice and high. So when she goes to post that hand on the floor or slip the elbow, she can't. Now we can take our partner up and over with a nice sumigashi with a shoulder crunch grip. Okay, so again, using our open guard tactics, but the initial setup comes from a butterfly half guard where you can't scoop into the legs, you can't get scoop grips, you can't go for sumigashis, and your partner sprawls everything away, going into the pinch headlock and then moving from a butterfly half guard into a full open guard. All right, so now we're just going to reiterate going from a pinch headlock into entering into our partner's legs. Okay, so we go from the pinch headlock like so, and now there's a variety of different things that we can do from here, all of which we covered in the open guard instructional. Okay, we're going to go in, we look to start elevating our partner like so, and for whatever reason we feel like we can't get our partner over, or the elbow slips, whatever the case is, we can just go immediately away from the upper body and just start to go back into all of our upper body attacks with spinning into cross ashi. We can go into a near leg scoop, and we can start pushing our partner down towards the floor and play a game from here like we played before. And we've talked about in the supine guard. We can start going into elevations here, and my partner goes into the legs. Now she pushes back into me, and now from here we can go back into the opposite side and go into attacks on our partner's legs. So always remember that there's various leg entrances we can hit from here when our partner manages to foil our attempts at the pinch headlock. So I initially enter into a pinch headlock from a butterfly half guard, and for whatever reason our partner manages to give me some issues, I can always just go back to a situation where I scoot underneath my partner and we go into our partner's legs and enter into an ashigurami. So if at any point we try to go from a butterfly half guard into our partner's legs, and the legs are far and away, we go up into the upper body. Then, for whatever reason, we feel our partner pushes back into us. Maybe the upper body slips and the elbow comes free, and the upper body moves away, and the legs are always once again available. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the 5 or 6 or 7 different leg variations that we went through from a pinch headlock that we already went through in a seated guard. But just know that you can always enter your partner's legs from a pinch headlock when you started from any various position, right? And our whole thing again with the pinch headlock is when we lock a pinch headlock from any butterfly half guard, our entire goal with this pinch headlock from a butterfly half guard, from a knee shield half guard is different. But from a butterfly half guard, our entire goal is just to free our bottom leg. So we always start with the sumigeshi kazushi over the shoulder, and now once our knee comes in, now we're basically playing with an open guard from here. So just reference the open guard, seated guard instructional, and go into attacks. All right, I just wanted to reiterate this because it is a part of a half guard and the integration of guards together. So I want to spend some time on it for those of you who haven't seen it, but I want to be repetitive for those of you who have already watched this in detail. So just know that I just wanted you to see the connection between playing a butterfly half guard with a pinch headlock versus playing a seated guard with a pinch headlock. All right, let's finish off this underhook series now and start to go into a situation where our partner gets an overhook. Okay, so whenever we're going and playing a butterfly half guard, our primary goal, whenever we play a half guard, is to get a connection as best as we can to our partner. What we don't want is to play a half guard and we have a cagey partner who we can't get a hold of. So if we can get an underhook, this is best case scenario with what we want, where we can follow up with strong attacks from here. All right. Second best case scenario is getting to a situation where we have an overhook. Okay, now, whether we're playing with a cross shoulder post and our partner fights her way past my knee elbow connection and punches in a strong underhook and comes forward like so, or I bait my partner, you see this a lot, I bait my partner into coming forwards, getting an underhook, and then I use it as my overhook. Okay, so I did this to JT a lot in the footage from the Madolfo game. I'm pretty sure. Okay, so whether my partner fights past my knee elbow connection or whether I let her get an underhook, I'm gonna start to look to overhook my partner's arm like so. Okay, now what she wants when she gets this underhook is to shoot forwards into me and get control of my head. Okay, just as we talked about before, her goal is always to control my head and lock her hands. So what I absolutely cannot accept is, as she puts the underhook in place, me allowing her to shoot forward to my head. So I put an underhook in place, I'm immediately going to block my partner's bicep like so. Okay? Your partner can play with a deep underhook all the way in like so, or she can play with a shallow underhook where she just has her elbow over my hip and she just is basically tight waisting me, where now I can't move my hips away and I can't shrimp away to put her back in guard. Regardless, I'm always going to take an overhook like so. I'm going to hike my partner's arm up into a nice high overhook so I have a strong connection to my partner. When I pull the underhook up, I'm going to look to take my left elbow and clamp it down over my partner's elbow. So when she goes to pommel her hand out, it's difficult now. So her arm is effectively stuck in an underhook. What I don't want is for her to feel danger and I have an open elbow, and now from here, she just pulls the arm out. She limp arms free and she's gone. So I'm going to pull everything down, clamp everything down like so. I block the initial crossface. When she goes to crossface me and flatten me out from a half guard, even if she gets chest to chest, it's a relatively easy thing because I have that inside position with my lower body to forward shift my partner. So I'm going to pull my knees into my chest and hit a basic forward shift like so and set up to a power prop. Now, what I don't want is to sit up, lose control of my partner's hand, and then try to recapture. A smart person will always use this as an opportunity to jump from the time I go from here to here to here. We'll jump right back to a crossface and lunge towards you and lock your hands and flatten you out. This is not what I want. I want to hit a forward shift and I want to go right from the bicep down to the wrist. So now, as she goes to crossface me, I can always control my partner's wrist. Worst case scenario, I don't get all the way down towards the hand, and she goes to jump to a crossface. I just put her hand on the floor a second time, and now there's weight in the hand, and I can move to the wrist. Okay? Now, I'm still technically in a half guard from here. I'm going to look to start pushing my partner's hand in towards her own waist. Okay, what I can't do is just push back towards the waist like so. So what I'm going to look to do from here is I'm going to look to pull my partner's hand towards me first and then push everything in. You can go with a figure 4 of your arms, or you can just simply push the hand towards your partner's body. Okay? So she has a hand based out like so. I'm just going to come off of my elbow briefly to pull her hand in. And I push it down towards the body. Now, I don't want her to expose the weakness of my one-on-one grip, which is the space between my thumb and my fingers. If she wants to break my grip, she has to go between that space. Okay? So the reason why I'm pushing my partner's hand towards her own body is so that the mass of her body makes up for the weakness of my one-on-one. So when she goes to pommel her hand out, she runs into the mass of her own body. Okay? So from this situation, I just pull everything in and I tuck it. Now when she goes to pommel that hand free, it's impossible. And now I just start a sumigashi action to free my bottom knee. Her best case scenario is she posts her head and her leg on the floor. And now I accomplished the simple idea of freeing my bottom leg. So now we're back into an open guard. Now I just put my toes on the floor. I continue the lifting action. So we can take our partner up and over, initially starting from a butterfly half guard and moving to an open guard. Okay? So we're playing from a butterfly half guard, our partner's over our knee, and we're in like so. Okay? Now, our partner manages to either get past our top leg or we let them pass. So we move from a cross shoulder post and we allow our partner to move to an underhook. But I don't allow my partner to have a cross face. I never do something like this. My hand just playing around or posting here, and then I allow my partner to have this. Now she lunges forward, and next thing you know, flattened out and her hands are locked. This is no good. So I go cross shoulder post and I just play the subtle inside bicep tie. So now if my partner goes to lunge forward, it's fine. Now I clamp down on my partner's underhook and I have an effective overhook now. When she goes to cross face me, I'm always pommeling my hand with a high and low elbow so she can't cross face me and control my head. As she goes to flatten me out, even if she completely flattens me out, I just pull my knees into my chest and I forward shift. Now we move from a bicep down to a wrist. When she goes to keep cross facing me and jumping in, I never come off. I always go bicep to wrist. Now from here, my whole goal is to move from a butterfly half guard to an open guard. So as she goes to start cross facing me and moving around from here, I just pull the arm and I tuck it. When she goes to base that hand out, go ahead. Now all I need is to free my bottom knee and get her up and elevated for the win. Okay, again, in the open guard series, but just a application from a butterfly guard. So we're playing butterfly guard. She goes to come in, she goes to start crushing me. And we can get our partner up and over. Moving from a half butterfly, she puts an underhook in, and I use that underhook as my overhook to forward shift to a full seated guard, and then go into my sumigashi attacks. All right, so just reiterating the fact that if we fail the overhook sumigashi starting from a butterfly half guard, we can enter into the legs. Again, not spending too much time on this because we're technically in an open guard here. So I go into the butterfly, from half butterfly into a sumigashi, and this time, for whatever reason, my partner pulls the hand out, posts on the floor. I can go into a wide array of attacks on my partner, ranging from a bar leg scoop. We can look to enter into a cross ashigarami. There's many things that we can do from here when we fail this overhook sumigashi. But I just want you guys to always be in the mindset, no matter where you are, if your partner pulls the upper body away and you fail, go into the lower body, and vice versa. So we're starting from a butterfly half, like so. We start to get our partner up and elevated. If you post the hand in the overhook sumigashi fails for whatever reason, we switch to a situation where I can start going now into my partner's legs in various attacks on either leg when the upper body is no longer there. Okay, so we're starting from a butterfly half guard. We're moving into a full open guard. We're failing the sumigashi, and then we go back into the legs just as we spoke about in previous instructionals. Okay, so just to keep you guys in the mindset of moving from one guard to another and then into different systems into attacks. Butterfly half guard into open guard into attacks on our partner's legs. All right, so now we're gonna move into a situation from a butterfly half guard. Before we get into a really cagey and disengaging opponent, where their hips are back, their heads forward, and they're just hand fighting aggressively, we're gonna basically look at a gift that your partner gives you when they just have no idea what's going on. And if you want reference for this being used in live competition, any of my earlier matches, more recently my match against Patrick Gaudio at Nogi Worlds, where he basically just starts in a half guard and then just puts himself in a cross ashigarami. Okay, so we start in a butterfly half guard, and when you play a typical half guard, what everyone does is they just start to quickly stand up and knee slide past your guard. So she pops up and she goes and she knee slides past. So everyone just doesn't realize that you can also do this. You can't do this from a butterfly half guard because you just knee slide into cross ashigarami. So when you're in a butterfly half guard and we're in here, my partner a lot of the times will start to either one, pop up and go to knee slide, like so, or two, she'll just put her knee on this side of my leg like so, where now I can easily start to enter into cross ashigarami. So what happens a lot of times is people quickly pop up and they go to knee slide into cross ashi. Whenever I see this, I just take my hand to the outside of my partner's knee and I just use my foot to drive myself up to a situation where my head is in between my partner's two legs, and now I just control both of my partner's legs and slide on through. Okay, that's actually more common than you guys think. This is actually something that I did against Eddie Cummings for like the first 2 years I was at Henzo's. I couldn't differentiate between a regular half guard and a butterfly half guard, and I would just knee slide myself into cross ashi every single day. Okay, so it's your job when you're passing to realize if your partner's in a butterfly half guard, you cannot just stand up and knee slide. So you're just going to put yourself in cross ashi. Okay, so from a situation where I'm playing a butterfly half guard, our partner quickly pops up and goes to knee slide. When I see this, I go from a cross shoulder to a cross lat. Okay. Now from here, I take my hand outside of my partner's knee, and I use my right foot to start elevating myself off of my hip to get my head in between my partner's two legs. Okay, and again, this looks like it's a crazy athletic movement. It's not. All I'm asking you is for your one foot to be elevated in the air towards the ground and your second foot to be dangling for a half a second or so. I'm asking you to sit in a full inversion or anything. And now from here, I can just gather my partner's second leg and sit my partner down. The second is your partner stays on her knees, but she just puts her knee across in this position. Her hope is that she'll be able to crush your knee together and then either step by past your legs or step over this knee and then start to play a game from here. Okay? You have to be pretty naive from the bottom to allow this to happen to you. I just make sure that when my partner steps her knee through that hole, that I keep this cross shoulder post or a cross lat post. Because now, when she goes to crush my two legs together, it's impossible. Even if she crushes my knee together, like so, this just leads me into an inversion. The biggest danger is that she crushes my knee together and she manages the space between my chest and her chest. So now she comes down, now I'm in some kind of danger. Okay? But as long as I have a cross shoulder or a cross lat post, she can crush my knees together all she wants. When she goes to move around or pass my guard from here, she can't. Even if you don't want to invert, just go to pass my guard. I can just easily recover with this cross shoulder post. Okay? So this time your partner doesn't stand up, she just places the knee in between like so. Right? Now what I don't want is my partner to keep her toes behind my calf muscle. Just stand straight up. I don't want my partner to keep her toes behind my calf muscle because then my leg gets stuck. I always want to put her foot in front of my shin. So she steps the knee in front and she puts her foot in the correct position like so. Whenever I see this, it's pretty easy to clear your leg by just off balancing your partner, again, over my right shoulder. So I'm going to take my right hand through. I block my partner's leg from following me with my right hand, and I just extend my right leg beyond where my partner's leg can follow. And now from here I go into the same motion where I just roll on through, I lock everything up, and we set our partner down. So this time, our partner doesn't pop up and knee slide aggressively, rather she just stays
on 2 knees, and she puts her knee down like so. Now I want to keep my left knee open the best I can, okay? So I use this cross shoulder pose to not allow her to crush my 2 knees together if possible. When she goes to crush my knee together, I don't want my knee to get wedged underneath her chest. So I just use this cross shoulder to open up, and we play here. Now she goes to play, she finds it's not an easy thing to come in and start crushing me. All right, this makes it easy now for me to take my hand through, take a cross lat post, extend my leg, and we can go into entrances very easy from there, okay? In addition, she goes to drive into me. I can also use a far scoop, like so. Or now she goes to come in and crush me. I can use a far scoop grip to go into attacks my partner's legs. So whether we go near side leg, like so, or far side scoop, doesn't matter. It's all contingent upon what you want to do and how far your partner's far leg is away. If you feel like the scoop is going to be hard, then just go near leg. If you feel like she's more square to me, I go into the far leg scoop. Both are very good options, and both give you control to the far leg. Put you in a very good position. So whether she goes with the knee in, or we start in a butterfly half guard, and she just pops up and goes for a knee slide, I can use a far leg scoop right from here as well. Or she pops up and she goes into a knee slide. She knee slides into cross hashigurami. No one with any talent or knowledge or skill will ever do that. But shockingly enough, world championship level black belts just knee slide against a butterfly half guard, just put themselves directly in cross hashigurami. So if you're on top, don't do that. And if you're on bottom, enjoy someone doing that to you, because they just basically give you leg locking entries. All right, so now let's look at our partner stalling from a butterfly half guard, okay? Now, there's degrees to which your partner can stall. Let's say you move to a butterfly half guard and you have frames in place and your partner is just stalling profusely from here. The leg's far away from you, you feel like you can't do anything. Whenever I see this and my knee's free and you refuse to let your partner move into you, just go into a power prop and sit up and move into a seated guard and play from there. The beauty of a butterfly half guard is that when your partner stalls, you can give a little to get a little, okay? I don't have to play my A game, guard retention, all the time. I don't have to just never give my partner anything and hope that I can enter into attacks my partner. I can feel confident from a butterfly half guard that I can give her a little bit of what she wants in order to gain what I want, which is a connection, okay? So whenever I'm in a butterfly half guard and I feel someone's timid to engage, I can allow them to get past my top knee, okay? So now if I just wanted to retain guard, this would be no good. If I just wanted to bring my knee inside and just not get my guard pass, this is where I want to be. But if I want to actually do jiu-jitsu and start to get my partner moving in towards me, I can start to control her a little bit better here and form a connection with my partner, okay? Now, when she moves into a situation where she's past my leg, where she's past my top leg, if I can control my partner's wrist very subtly from here, I can go into a decent amount of attacks, which we're going to look at next, where we go into drags and we do all kinds of things from here. If my partner's stalling to a degree where her head's down, like so, and her leg's backing away from me, not that far, just good. Her leg's backing away from me, and I feel like I can't get control of my partner's wrist, or maybe her elbows just inside here, and she's playing, and I'm in a butterfly half guard, and I go to control the wrist, and she strips it off, and she's pommeling, and I'm trying to control my partner's wrist, and she's always pommeling her hands, and I feel like I can't control the wrists at all. Okay, now I'm going to start to go into situations where I give her more, and I allow her to start coming forwards into me and getting, put an underhook in place. She's start getting an underhooks in place and controlling where I can start attacking kimuras and stuff from here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is our partner starts to stall on us. We cannot get an underhook. Okay, so we can't form the most connection that I want to my partner through an underhook. My partner's timid to put her own underhook in place because she's in a butterfly half guard. Okay, so now she's wary about overextending into her own underhook, knowing that if she puts an underhook in, because I have a butterfly half guard, I can easily off balance her. Whereas if I had a knee shield and she was past my top leg, now she could underhook me safely and start to crush me. So she's smart and she realizes, okay, well, I won't let him get an underhook, and I also won't put my own underhook in place. So she comes in and she's playing a relatively cagey game. She steps up over my leg. My bottom knee's trapped. She's playing a relatively cagey game, but she allows me to just control her wrist for any amount of time. Okay, all I need is a few seconds where I can control my partner's wrist. We're going to look to go into some arm drag situations from here. Then after that, we go into a situation where I try to control the wrist, and she's peeling off. She's peeling all the grips off. Her head's down, and I feel like I can't. We're just playing in here. I feel like I let her pass my top leg, but I just cannot make a grip and keep a grip for any amount of time. Okay, when she's really stalling, but she's still kind of in the pocket. All right, we'll look at those situations now, starting off with the arm drag series. All right, so now we're going to look at an opponent who's playing a cagey game, so we give them a little bit to get a little bit. We allow them to get past our top knee from a butterfly half guard, like so, and we start playing from here. Now, we play a simple dilemma game. If our partner has an elbow inside of my hip with a hand on the outside of my rib cage, I force my partner into an underhook. So I force them to overextend. I'm always monitoring my partner's bicep like so. And from this position, I want her to move into an underhook. So I just grab the back of my partner's tricep and I just extend my left leg and lengthen her body while I simultaneously pull her to an underhook. And now I lock in and I clamp my partner's arm down. Okay, so from the opposite side, if we're playing and she gets past my upper body, if she's playing in here and I feel like I can't control my partner's wrist and move to an arm drag, that's fine. I just cup the top of the outside of my partner's tricep like so, and now I just lengthen my right leg to take weight off of her hand, okay, because I don't want her leaning forwards and putting weight down onto my hip. This makes it hard to pull the elbow through. So I extend my right leg and I just pull her elbow past. And now she goes to recover it. It's not an easy thing, and that allows me to go into all of my Sumigashi setups that we talked about previously. Okay? So your partner starts to realize that if she stays with her hand in this position, I pull the hand through, she's gonna get attacked. So what everyone starts to do is they start to pommel the hand to the inside like so, and they start to move the elbow outside. So now she either goes with the V grip inside my armpit, or she does something to stop me from pulling the elbow through. Most of the time, I go to pull everything through, and she goes to pommel the hand, and we get the wrist inside the elbow for a brief second. Whenever I see this, I just make a pass off. From my right hand to my left hand, I grab the wrist, and I just punch the hand down towards my partner's legs. And now from here, we can go and we start utilizing our drag grips. So the transition will be she's in like so. I come outside my partner's tricep, and I look to start pulling the arm through. Whenever my partner sees this, a lot of times what she goes to do is pommel the hand inside, where now she can look to either posture up and straighten the arm, move away from me, or do all kinds of things from here. So I look to pull the arm through. As my partner goes to either one, take the elbow inside briefly, or post to my face like people do and straighten the arm, or just take the hand inside and back away from me, I make a pass off. Where she goes to start posturing away, I use my right hand to bring the hand inside. I switch left hand, and then from here, I switch to a drag grip. I go up high by my partner's elbow, by my partner's armpit, rather. So when she goes to posture out, there's no slippage. If I let go of the wrist, there's no reason why she can't just posture up, and now she's gone. The second I get the drag grip, I want to look to take my butterfly hook out and just use a pendulum of my left leg to sit up and pull my partner's arm inside my elbow. The key with any drag, as we spoke about in the closed guard instructional, the key with any drag is to make sure that my chest covers my partner's tricep. What I don't want is to go for an arm drag where there's no weight on my partner's arm and body, where she can just posture up and rip the arm out if she's sweaty or greasy. So when I go for the drag, I want to make sure that I turn my chest towards the floor.
so that now I can get to my partner's far hip. When she goes to posture out from this situation, it's incredibly difficult now. I have a very strong drag grip, and I have weight over my partner's tricep and body. So when she goes to posture out, now she carries my entire body weight, and she's an active wedge behind her tricep and shoulder. Now all that's left for me to do is post my left leg on the floor, heist up to a knee, and now we have a situation where we're attacking turtle position, and we can start to go into all of our favorite power halves and breaking our partner down. Okay, so we play a basic dilemma game between the hand being inside versus the hand being outside. We come in, we block a cross face like so. Okay, now from here, I start to pull my partner's arm to the outside. What I don't do is take my hand across and play here, because now if she shoots into a cross face and she shoots to an underhook, she can lock her hands and potentially flatten me out. It's not the end of the world because we still have a butterfly hook it, but it's not optimal. So I go cross face like so, or I go inside bicep like so. Now I start pulling my partner's arm into what I want to be my overhook. My partner starts to either posture up or pommel the hand inside. This is my cue now to switch my hand position to a 2-on-1. Because now, if she goes to shoot into an underhook from here, I can just pass the hand across. If she tries to use a cross face, it's ineffective because both of her hands now are easily past the same side of my body, and we can make it easy reset. So when I feel her going to start posturing up and away from me, I go 1, 2, 3. Now, from the situation, it's very easy for me to take my leg out. Your partner's going to be doing everything from here, start pulling away from you, posting on your face, all that stuff. Okay? So what I want the second I put a drag grip in is to keep that hand on the floor by just elevating over my right shoulder with a pull of my hands and a lift of my left leg. So when she goes to post on my face, it's not an easy thing. Now, she's going to be pushing back into me, and that makes it easy for me to come up into a situation where I can go into an arm drag. Okay? Now from here, I get to the far waist. All I have to do is look to use that far hip to heist up to a knee, and now we can go into attacking turtle. All right? So from another angle, we attempt with the inside bicep and the tricep to pull to an overhook. She goes to posture up and move away. I go to a 2-on-1. I make a pass, and then I just, with my left hand, push my partner's arm down towards the knee. Now, even if she straightens her arm from here, it's relatively easy to start going into a drag and lengthening her body with my butterfly hook. So now from this situation, I can start to come up and use that far hip to start climbing up my partner's body. All I need is a grip down on the wrist with my left hand. Wherever she goes from here, it's relatively easy now for me to start making moves. All I need is an initial arm drag grip. Even if she posts on my face and goes to use and straightens that arm, as she goes to move, go to escape. It's pretty easy from here to off balance your partner because you have the butterfly hook. Okay? So when you get the long end of the lever down by the wrist and a strong anchor up by your partner's armpit, it's relatively easy to off balance your partner here, and it's hard for her to escape this grip. Okay? She has to address the grip itself, and she can't just push on you. And that time, it's very easy for you to start moving around the corner. Okay? So if your partner's hands on the outside, we pull them to a forced underhook where we go into sumigichis. If she goes to posture up and away from us, then we make a pass off with a 2-on-1, go into a drag, and then expose the partner's back. All right, so we're going to look at a knee lever now. Okay, knee lever is a big part of my half guard game. We'll look at the initial application from a failed arm drag, and we go to come up to our partner's back, but for whatever reason, we feel like we failed. So from this situation, we get an initial drag grip, and we go to start coming up to our partner's back. Now, as we go to start coming up to our partner's back, we find that our partner pushes into us to a degree where I feel like I'm getting crushed and I can't get the angle that I need. As I go to scoot, she just runs towards me, and I feel like I can't get my head higher than my partner's head. Whenever I see this, this is a perfect time to go for a knee lever. Okay? Sure. So if I can get my head higher than my partner's, you're guaranteed the drag. If your partner can keep her head higher than yours, she's guaranteed the initial victory, stopping the drag. This is fine. This is when I start to go for all of my knee lever attacks
where I'm going to look to make sure that I get a variety of gripping in certain ways. Okay? But first and foremost, in order to hit the mechanics of the knee lever properly, I need to make sure that I move my hips underneath my partner's. If my knees point towards my partner's body, I will never be able to successfully knee lever someone. My knees have to be at least pointed towards the ceiling, preferably starting in the same direction as I'm sweeping to, in order to be successful. The way that I do this is by hitting a reverse shrimp where I shovel my hips underneath my partner's hips, like so. Now, from this position, I take my inside foot and I place it directly outside of my partner's knee, and I step on my own foot. I do not step below the knee. If I step below the knee and I go to knee lever, your partner will just base the knee out and will always hit the floor as you go to knee lever. I need to block my partner's base of support with my feet. So now when she goes to base out, it's not an easy thing. So prerequisites to any knee lever. I need to have my hips underneath my partner's so that my knees point at least towards the ceiling, preferably in the same direction I'm sweeping. And I need to make sure that my foot comes to the outside of my partner's knee, and then I step on my own foot like so. Now, once I'm in position ready to go for the knee lever, I look to just lever my knees in this direction. Everyone mistakes it for a bridge, which gives my partner a position to move her knee, and now as I go to roll the knee, at best, the base is out on the floor, and at worst, she drives across into a 3/4 mount. A bridge is not the idea. When I go to knee lever, I just take my two knees and I point them in the direction I want to sweep. When my partner from here goes to base with her arm, she can't because of the drag. When she goes to base with her right leg, she can't because of the situation where her knee is trapped. And in addition, because of the drag grip, when she goes to post with her opposite hand on the floor, she can only reach so far, but she can not base in the direction she's going. Because of the drag, if there's a different situation, and we'll look at this later, where she has a cross base and an underhook, now, when she can base this arm, other arm, way out far and away, where she can actually form a base of support and not get taken over. But because I'm pulling her body in a situation where her shoulder's moving across my center line, when she goes to actually post that other hand, it's not a meaningful grip. She can't reach far enough because her shoulder's so far across my center line. So when she goes to post her knee, she can't. When she goes to post her arm, she can't. And now we can come over. And as we come over, we make a switch from an arm drag to an underhook. And now we land in top half guard, and we are ready to pass in the same situation that we were previously in. Except this time we're on top, and instead of being just in a half guard, we're flattened out with the cross face and an underhook. So this time, we have a butterfly half guard. We play a dilemma between going outside and coming inside. This time, we pendulum up, we go to drag, but our partner just runs to us, and we feel like we can't get the head on our partner. Whenever I see this, I take my foot outside my partner's knee, like so. I place my own foot on top. I need to make sure that as my partner is running into me, I hit a reverse shrimp and I get my hips underneath my partner's. So I'm trying to bring my hips out in this direction. As she goes to move towards me, I go back in the opposite direction. And now I step, step. I reach across to my partner's far lat muscle. From this position, I just take my two knees and I lever them out and over. When she goes to base with any of her hands or with her knee or leg, she gets taken over very easily, and it gives us a situation where we can scissor our legs and come up to top position. Okay? There are many grips you can use with this knee lever. You can use a drag grip. You can use a switch where I take my left hand through her place and I move to an underhook. Right? Both are very good. The main danger when I use a drag grip and I knee lever my partner is that before I put an underhook in place, as I go to come up, she re-drags me, and now she can create back exposure on me. Okay? So just understand that when you switch, before you go over from a drag to an overhook and an underhook. Now, as your partner goes to re-drag you, there's no arm drag grip. And you land with your partner flattened out. And in a situation, you're ready to go right into various passes with different grips. So the arm drag grip presents dangers, but it's fast. The overhook underhook method takes longer to get to, but it's more robust and is less risky when you actually take your partner over. Okay? So you go for an initial drag. We got to pull ourselves up. Our partner goes to run into us, and we go over the back. We get a quick situation where we don't switch our grips, and as we go to come up, our partner goes to shuffle us down, and make a quick switch. The danger is that she re-drags. I'm dealing with a very talented opponent this time. This time she has to shuffle us down. Before I go, I'd make a transition. So the drag comes out, my hand comes underneath my drag arm. And I punch an underhook in. So now she goes to re-drag me. There's no drag grip in place, and I land with her flattened out. Okay, so a counter this time to a back attack off an arm drag. I try to initially take my partner's back off of the drag, but she shuffles me down so I can't get my head higher than hers and complete the drag. Whenever we see this, because your leg's on the outside, go right into a knee lever. Okay? With the knee lever, there are two different gripping variations. One where you switch to an overhook and an underhook, and one where you stay with the drag grip. The overhook and the underhook is much more robust and less risky as you come up, but the drag grip is a lot faster. Okay, so if you want to just take your partner over right away and switch, no problem. But if you have the time, switch to the stronger grip, the overhook and the underhook, and then take your partner over into a very secure passing position for the win. All right, so a few ways that our partner can deny us this knee lever. One way is by using a backstep method, where from the situation, whether we have a drag grip or an overhook underhook, our partner realizes that from here, she isn't going to be able to base the knee out, and she's not going to be able to base the hand out. So what people will often do is they'll backstep this leg like so. So now, as you go to get up, you feel like you can almost get on top, but if someone's explosive, she can explode back into you and then reset. And now she has time to start to look to posture up and figure out ways to get her arm out. And then you feel like you almost got your partner over, but you ended up back on bottom. Whenever I see this, as we spoke about, the goal from a half guard a lot of the times is to fight to the inside position with the bottom knee. Right now, my bottom knee is trapped in half guard. Okay, this is prime passing position for her because she has my bottom leg trapped. When my partner chooses to backstep, it opens up the ability for me to bring my bottom knee into my chest and claim the inside foot position with my right foot in this situation. So when I go for the initial knee lever, I come out, I hit my initial setup, she backsteps like so. Now, there's nothing stopping me from bringing my right knee into my chest. So when she goes to high leg back over, she comes right back onto a butterfly hook. And now from here, when she goes to come back towards me, she can't. When she goes to backstep, now the butterfly hook stops her from rebounding and coming back on top of me a second time. And now she goes to explode back on top of me. All I have to do is just lift with the butterfly hook, and now I can drive right back on top, and now I'm in a perfect passing position to go into all of my attacks already being chest to chest. So when I play this initial game where I go for the drag, I fail, and from here I go for a knee lever, she backsteps. Now what I don't want is for her to come back to where she came from and pull the arm free. Okay, it's a lot of motion to be going through. So as I go to hit the knee lever, she backsteps, and from here, as she goes to rebound, I just put a butterfly hook in place. Now she can try as hard as she wants to kick over. You're always going to be able to put your partner's foot back on the floor. And now when she goes to hop a second time, you can easily take your partner through, and now from here you can easily come into a situation where you're winning. Okay, now the good news with having the inside butterfly hook is, if you have the original arm drag grip, it's pretty hard for your partner to re-drag you. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's pretty hard. Because now I start building height, and if she tries to re-drag me, I can expose my partner's back right from here.
The only way she can theoretically re-drag me is if she pushes my knee down, and now as I go to drag, she sits around the corner. And we're in a whole different game that we're playing here. It's not even related to half guard. Okay, but she can re-drag you from here. So whenever you can, it's always best to switch to that underhook, overhook situation, like so. So now as you come on top, and she goes to re-drag or counter you in any way, it's impossible. And now I can easily go into all of my attacks from here. All right, so again, the drag is always faster. The underhook, overhook is always more robust. All right, and this is just a great way to counter a back step because your partner knows she can't post with the same side arm and the same side leg. She knows she can't reach over because her shoulder's too far across the center line. So the only base of support she has is by backstepping the only free leg that she has and hoping to hop back over and then rip the arm out on the transition. A simple butterfly hook will completely stop this, stop the rebound, and allow you to sweep and get on top very easily. All right, so let's look at another way that my partner can counter the drag, the drag and the knee lever. This time, instead of waiting into a late escape where she has to high leg over, and I feel like, and she feels like, okay, well, I'm gonna get swept. I may as well try a last ditch effort by trying to high leg my legs over. This time, as I go for the knee lever, before I can even get her off balance, she just shoots her head across the center line, making a center line shift, and pulls her head far out and away. So now all of her weight is leaning on one side. So now when I go to hit the knee lever, it's gonna be hard because I can't get her weight going in the direction I want. You notice, if I have a perfect knee lever position, if her head is on my left shoulder, and she goes to stop me from knee levering, she can tense her body as much as she wants. She's gonna go over. Just a simple center line shift where her head moves from one side to the other makes it almost impossible to take my partner over. The bad news is you can't hit a knee lever from here. The good news is because she moved her head so far out in the way that it makes a re-drag embarrassingly easy. And now from here we can just get up and start attacking turtle like we talked about before. Okay? So you see there's always a series of dilemmas here. I'm never just presenting one problem. I'm always presenting multiple problems where no matter what my partner does, she runs into another issue. So I go for the initial drag like so, and I go for a knee lever. If I hit the knee lever, great. If I don't, and she goes to back step, then I insert a butterfly hook. If I feel like I can't even get my partner off balance at all with the knee lever and she just shoots her head far and away, now it's easy to re-drag. If I tried to re-drag my partner when her head was on my left shoulder, I can never get out of the way of her head. But now the knee lever becomes easy. So this time she shoots her head over the far shoulder. Now I can never knee lever. I can always get out of the way of her head and build height to get my head higher than hers, and then eventually build up into situations where we can win. Okay? So this time, we're in a butterfly half guard. Our partner's playing with an elbow in like so. I look to pull to an overhook. She pulls everything back. I go to a 2-on-1 and I pass it across. Now from here, I use a pass off from the left elbow, from my left hand on the elbow, to my left hand on the wrist, and I just shoot myself up to an arm drag grip. Okay? If your partner starts with the wrist just in here somewhere and she's just posting on your chest, there's no reason why I can't just pass to an arm drag grip. This is perfect. But most people are always going to play here. So we play that dilemma. If she comes in, I let her get past my legs and she's just posting on me, playing a cagey game, and her hands in the center, then I just make a pass into a drag grip. Now I start to come up. If I get the back, perfect. If not, she goes to push into me. We go knee lever. If she back steps, we go butterfly hook. If she offsets the head across the center line, we re-drag. Okay? So there's a whole series here. And always remember that you have the option from here at any point to just forward shift and go right back into open guard, where now you have all of your open guard exchanges where you can take the back, you can drag, you can go into your leg attacks, you can do all that. Okay? So while you're working from half guard, you always have the option to just insert a butterfly hook with a drag grip, forward shift, and go right into all of your seated guard attacks. All right, so this time if all fails, we initially set up our drag grip and the guy just rips out. This is our opportunity to enter either into the legs or into the upper body. All right, so this time
we let our partner past our top leg, and we're in here. Now, she's in here, she's playing. A lot of times I go for a drag. The second I feel this, exactly, she posts on my far shoulder and she postures out. Right? When I see this is a perfect opportunity, number one, as she goes to posture out and away, to follow her up to a power prop and shoot an underhook in. Okay, this is a great time to do that. But even better is just to go right into my partner's legs. Okay, as she goes to pull away from the underhook, or the arm drag rather, her far leg has to come towards me. She's sprawling back and away from me like so. If she goes to pull out like so, there's no way she can ever actually break the arm drag grip. She has to bring her hand in to post on me somewhere, or post on the floor, and her knee has to come in, and she has to drive her hips forward, and the arm comes out. Okay, so I can use this as an opportunistic way as she goes to pull out and away to follow her and shoot into an underhook, or I can use it as a way where as she goes to pull out and away, I can come into a scoop on the far leg, and I can start going into work from here. All right, just like I spoke about before, when we start off in a butterfly half guard and her arms outside, if I go to just scoop my partner's far leg, she brings the hand in, she posts on the floor, she shoots her leg back. It's hard to scoop into my partner's legs. Okay, but when I start off with an initial reaction that gets her pulling away from me, now she's not worried about blocking me from scooping the leg. She's worried about pulling her arm out so she doesn't get her back taken with the arm drag. So as she goes to rip that arm out, I just shoot in, and now I scoop my partner's leg like so. And now from here, we're into all those scoop grip attacks where we can go into our partner's legs and we can enter in various situations. Okay. In addition, we can go from a scoop grip and feed an underhook in. And then we can move back to a situation where we go into sumigishis. We can go from an underhook into a pinch headlock. We can go into all of our attacks from the situation. Okay. So we can start to combine everything now, where we don't just have one or two moves or a couple of dilemmas here and there. We have a full series now where we can move around our partner's body with all of these attacks. So we go into an initial arm drag series. My partner goes to move away from me. I can come in, I can shoot to an underhook and follow her up. My partner comes in, she goes to pull away from the arm drag. I come in, I shoot to a scoop grip like so. Now I start elevating my partner. I move to a scoop grip and I go to an underhook. My partner pushes my hand down, for example. She manages to sprawl her leg back and away, but now the upper body's exposed, and now we start coming into pinch headlocks. Okay, so now we have a way to start combining all of this into one and start really getting strong attacks on our partner with sustained attacks in an offensive cycle over the course of 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, however many minutes. All right. But whenever we go in for a drag and our partner goes to pull away, there's always that far leg available. We can scoop. We can go scoop grips, underhooks. We can go to all the previous attacks we just looked at with just a simple basic setup from that arm drag grip. All right. So now you have kind of a little system from beginning, middle to end from this butterfly half guard, where we can start to experiment and really get strong attacks on our partner. All right, so now we're going to change tune a little bit with a little Kimura series here. All right, now keep in mind there are many more options than what I'm about to show you guys from this Kimura, but then we just start going into a situation where we're not even close to half guard anymore, and we're just more to a Kimura series. So I'm going to show you the relevant things from half guard that we can do with Kimuras, and then I'll show you some options from some other spots that don't really have to do with half guard, and then we'll move on from there. All right. In addition, we're going to start dealing with a situation where our partner's playing a very cagey game and won't allow us to even control wrists. Okay, so if I can control my partner's wrist and she's past my top leg, and she's playing in here, and at least I control one of my partner's wrist, I can go into drags and I can start to go into attacks. If I can control my partner's opposite wrist like so for any amount of time, it's pretty easy to start locking Kimuras by just lifting my partner out and over my right shoulder. Okay? Just as before, when I went to expose my underhook, I just lift with my left leg and I close my knee into my partner's rib cage. And this will allow me to reach over and start locking in Kimura grips like so. Okay, so that's one way we can lock a Kimura, is if I can control my partner's wrist for any amount of time. Maybe I just do it subtly here, where I control either my partner's wrist or my partner's form. I can just start knocking weight onto the arm and locking in Kimuras. All right, so that's one good setup that I have for Kimuras.
What I don't want to do is grab my partner's wrist and look to sit up over my partner's back. This will immediately allow your partner to come through and just shoot into a body lock, and from here, flatten you out, okay? I do have control of my partner's wrist from the situation, but what often happens is, one, your partner either just quickly rotates the wrist out and pommels and now shoots into a body lock, or she shoots into a tight waist with this arm, a deep grip, where she wraps, and now she flattens me out, and now she pommels into a cross face and you get flattened out. So I'm not gonna say that you can't lock kimuras by sitting up like this, but the risk versus reward is kind of shaky from here, okay? Because best case scenario, you get a kimura. Worst case scenario, you're completely flattened out and you're pretty much going to get passed, okay? Especially with a tight waist or a body lock. All right, so I recommend setting up kimuras by not coming towards your partner, but by bringing your partner towards you, where we can lock up and get to kimuras. All right, another great way that we can get to kimuras is by beating our partner to come forwards into us. Where from here, I feel like I'm trying to control my partner's wrist, but her head's forward, her hips are back, I can't scoop her legs, and every time I go to control my partner's wrist, she breaks grips, she backs away, then she comes back in. Every time I go to get grips, she just rips out, and I feel like I'm getting control of my partner's wrist, and I'm trying to scoop the leg, but she shoots the leg back, and I feel like she's playing a very cagey game from here, where I can get an initial grip for a half a second or so, but every time I make a grip, she just aggressively rips away, and she's playing a very cagey and stalling game, all right? Whenever I see this, I'm gonna allow my partner to start gaining significant ground on me so I can start setting up kimuras on my partner. So I'm gonna let her get past my top leg, and now I'm also gonna let her not get past my top arm, but start to crush my top arm in towards me to get her chest closer to mine. So now she goes to move towards me, she can almost get chest to chest. When I see this, I'm just gonna shoot my arm through, and I move from a cross shoulder pose to a situation where my arm laces over my partner's shoulder like so. Now, from this situation, I'm still safe from here because my partner does not have the ability to cross face me and control my head. When she goes to start passing from this situation, she can't control my head, and if she does start to go into passes where she puts the butterfly hook in, it's pretty easy for me to just lift and repower my hands inside because she cannot control my head. All right, that's why I stressed this so much before. So from here, all I'm going to look to do is I take my hand up and over, and I just connect my hand to my own wrist. So we have like almost a pseudo kimura here. What this does is it, one, blocks your partner's crossface. So when she goes to crossface you, that's impossible. Two, it makes it impossible for my partner to just yank her arm out. When she goes to posture up and pull the arm out, as soon as the hand comes off the floor, I can always slide down and lock a kimura, okay? What I don't want is to be reaching for my partner's wrist, and I'm reaching over like this and coming up, and then she just shoots into a body lock. So I play a game like so, where I just reach over, and I just play a game, and I wait. If my partner tries to come in towards me, that becomes impossible. The second my partner's hand comes off the floor, I'm always going to lock a kimura. Put your hand on the floor. It's hard for me to lock a kimura from here. But the second my partner starts to drive into me, the hand comes off the floor, and now I just turn my hand towards my partner's, and we lock into a kimura grip like so. I can also take my partner's hand off the floor. I can start to elevate my partner over my right shoulder with the kazushi. Now she goes to push back into me, I can rock her in the opposite direction. And now we can go in and lock kimuras. So we give our partner almost everything she wants, and we let her get close to me. The only thing I don't give her is the ability to control my head and make a cranial shift. So before, I wasn't letting her get close to me, but I allowed her to get past my top knee. At first, we didn't allow her to get past my top knee. We went into all of our attacks, making various connections to our partner. Then she started to be a little bit harder to deal with, so we gave her a little bit. We allowed her to get past my top knee. And now we started to use situations where I pulled her into overhooks and underhooks, or use arm drags where I was able to control wrists. Now I feel like my partner's just completely stalling from a situation where I'm in a butterfly half guard, which gives me the option to just sit up and move to a seated guard, which is a great option, or to give her more than I usually would and allow her to start coming in and getting chest to chest on me. Where now she feels like she's getting close and she has the confidence now to start engaging. Whenever I see this, I'm just going to shoot my left hand through and wrap over my partner's arm like so. Once I'm here, this is all I need. From this situation, I just put my partner's hand down on the floor with a simple off balance. Now from here, I reach through and I grab my own forearm.
No matter how strong your partner is, when she goes to hit a heavy crossface on you, this reinforced wedge here will always prevent the crossface. And now the only thing I'm waiting for is my partner's hand to come off the floor. A lot of the times, she'll willingly do this by trying to posture up and rip her hand out. And that just gives me the Kimura grip that I wanted. Other times, she'll put weight over the arm, and she'll put her hand on the floor very hard, very steady, and make it hard for me to lock a Kimura. Whenever I see this, I just start an elevation game, moving in like so. If she doesn't do anything from here, there's no reason why I can't just pull the arm out and she'll fall over. But nobody good is going to do that. Come back up to your knees. I'm always going to elevate one way and she'll push back, and then I'll always be able to lock up with the Kimura in the opposite direction. Okay? So we play this Kazushi game with the goal of getting my partner's hand off the floor. Whether I go one way, if she doesn't do anything, and she just falls over. Or the other way. And all I need is that hand off the floor to just go in. I go from locking above the elbow to below the elbow. And once we have the Kimura locked, we can follow up with a bunch of great attacks. Okay, so locking a Kimura, this time we're playing against a very cagey, stalling opponent. We give them more than we usually would in order to create some action and make things happen from a butterfly half guard. All right, so whenever we lock a Kimura from any situation, our primary goal is to put it behind the back, right? Now you have to understand that there are two ways that you can use a Kimura. You can use a Kimura to submit your partner, and just using the Kimura as a submission itself, or you can use a Kimura to move around your partner's body. Okay, so not actually using it to submit your partner when you can't get the hand behind the back, but using it for sweeps and other positional gains where you can enter into attacking your partner's back, different submissions, attacking the legs, going into different passes and sweeps and what have you. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is putting the Kimura behind our partner's back from a butterfly half guard situation. So the second we lock Kimura like so, we're always going to look to put it right behind the back. What we don't want is our partner grabbing inside her own thigh or grabbing her own, locking her hands together like so, making it hard for me to put it behind the back. So the second I go to lock this Kimura, the first thing I'm going to look to do, the second we go from our initial pseudo Kimura to a full Kimura, is looking to scoot underneath our partner and just connect our partner's knuckles to her back like so. Okay? Now, I don't care how strong your partner is. You put someone's hand behind their back, they're going to be a weak person. All I need to do is get the hand connected to the back. This is all that I need. From this situation, I'm not going to look to push my partner's hand up towards the head. I never use a pushing Kimura grip. Rather, I'm going to look to take my elbow and pull it towards the ground. So I have a pulling Kimura instead of a pushing Kimura. If I push my partner's hand up towards her head, she feels almost nothing. Okay, you see all this range of motion here. The second I lock everything up and I start pulling my partner's elbow down, or my elbow down towards the floor, so I have a pulling Kimura instead, we get incredible amounts of braking force right from here. This will always result in one of two things. If your partner's an idiot, they'll stay here and tap. If your partner's smart, because there's nothing stopping them from rolling, they'll always just roll over the shoulder, and now you will end up in top half guard when you can start going into attacks right from here. If you want to get more advanced with it, you can not just roll a top half guard, but you can look to pommel your legs free as you go. Because you have the inside leg position, as your partner goes to roll over, you can use this to pommel your legs free and end up in side control, where now you can look to go into attacks on your partner and finish Kimuras or go right into a pass as you land. You can also use this to go right into a T-Kimura position. I put the hand behind the back, I scoot underneath my partner, and now I start to put pressure on the Kimura, and as she rolls, I just let her glide over me, and now we end up in a T-Kimura, where now we can either come on top, or if she goes to turn towards me, we can start going into back attacks. Okay, so it's a very versatile position where I can move around my partner's body with this Kimura grip. But if we can lock a Kimura and put it behind my partner's back, you're going to have a lot of options from there. So we initially come in, and we set up the Kimura in one of two ways. Number one, my partner allows me to control the wrist, like so, for any amount of time. We elevate towards the shoulder and we lock. Okay? From this situation, if your partner just falls over, this is great. Now she goes to recover from here. I just lift with the sumigashi and hop across the body. Nobody who's halfway decent is going to do that. They're all going to try to look to push back into you. Whenever I see this, I just scoot underneath my partner like so, and we put the hand behind the back. Now, I want to look to start taking an angle like so I can start to create a situation where I can pull the kimura, not push the kimura. Okay? I take my left elbow, and I flare it out towards my partner's elbow, and now I pull my elbow down towards the floor. If your partner doesn't do anything, you're going to break them from here. So as she goes to roll through, you have a variety of options on whether you want to follow through, whether you want to come up on top, whether you want to take your partner's back, whether you want to come up and enter your partner's legs, whatever you want from this situation. You can put the kimura behind the back and use it to our advantage from the butterfly half guard to go into winning situations. All right, so as we spoke about before, when I initially locked the kimura, if my opponent just falls over, when I get to this position and doesn't do anything, I can easily come on top. Now, her just falling over is not the smart thing for her to do. But for her to sit to her hip and use her hand either inside my hip, or if she uses a V grip on my ankle, for example, to back step, now from here, she can start to move across side, circle around, and create situations where she can either pass or go for juji kame on the opposite side. Okay? So it's only permissible for her to backstep provided she can monitor my butterfly hook. So if she has no intention of doing anything to control this butterfly hook in some degree, and she goes to backstep and sit to her hip, she just falls over. This is not smart on her part. Right? But if she can take her elbow inside my hip and extend and keep my hip on the floor, manage to just quickly hip switch past, or even better, if she can V grip on my ankle and backstep. Now, as I gotta get up, it's hard for me to get up, and I don't really have any connection to my partner anymore. Okay, so come back. So this time, as my partner goes to backstep, and she puts a V grip on my ankle, like so. Whenever I see this, just before she goes to start passing, I'm just gonna look to extend my arms and roll up and over my shoulder. So as she goes to start moving around, I'm just gonna extend my arms and sit my partner down to the floor. Okay? This is an extension to a half guard. It's not really from half guard, but it starts from half guard, so we'll go over it. The key to this is that you have timing and directionality of force in the proper the proper use. So she goes to sit to her hip and she V grips my ankle, like so. From this situation, I extend my body, or I extend my arms, and all I'm going to look to do is I'm going to look to take my shoulders into a concave position where I roll my shoulders forward. I'm just going to look to roll from my right shoulder across my shoulder blades to my left shoulder. Okay, so I shoulder roll from right to left. And now we end up in a T-Kimura, where now we can use that, her counter, as an opportunity for me to sweep or take my partner's back. Okay? So once again, if my partner's very naive and she just falls to a hip, yes, I can't put my partner's arm behind the back. But because I have a butterfly half guard, when she goes to fall to a hip, I can just easily sweep my partner over and end up in top position. So what a smart person will do is, as they're going to sit to a hip, to prevent me from putting the hand behind the back, they V grip on the ankle, like so. Okay? So now I can't take my partner over. Whenever I see this, yes, it's hard to take my partner over, but it's easy to roll my partner through. So all I like to do is put my right foot on the floor, and I shrimp away. So that now from here I extend my arms, and I just use a pendulum of my legs to sit my partner down into a T-Kimura, where now I can come up on top or play however you would like from here. So what this is going to look like in a live situation. Let my partner get in chest to chest. We play from here. The second I lock in, she goes to V grip and sit through. Now we're in ready to go. Okay? From a different angle. Lock a Kimura. She goes to sit in V grip. Now we're ready to come in and start playing with various attacks from there. So the timing and the directionality of force is what's key. Lay down. Good. Good. No. When she sits through, the second her hip hits the floor, I should already be shrimping. Okay? If her hip hits the floor and she gets up to her knees, and now I start shrimping, you're already too late. Okay? So you have to time your partner's hip switch where I'm already shrimping away. Now, as she goes to get up, I want to put myself in a position where I use a pendulum of my legs to get into a position where my feet are pointing out towards this corner and over her shoulders. Okay? What I can't have is my feet and knees pointing towards her. I'm going to bring my feet all the way around so that my 2 feet are pointing towards this opposite corner out there somewhere. So that now from here, as she goes to get up on top of me, I just finish the rotation and I sit my partner down to where she has no base of support and we can easily get up on top or go into back attacks or what have you from there. Okay, so this time she's smart. She goes to back step to her hip and V grip to pass my guard. I use it as a counter to use Kimuras to go into other attacks and roll my partner through. All right, so this time let's look at an opponent who, instead of tries to backstep past your butterfly hook, just locks their hands and stays there like a statue. All right, so this is a very common issue that we encounter when we're playing with Kimuras, where our opponent just goes in, locks the hands like so, and you feel like, okay, I can't separate my partner's hands, I can't get it behind the back, I can't move my partner, and your partner just sits here and doesn't do anything. Whenever I see this, what I'm going to look to start doing is moving my hips out and away from my partner. What I want is to make it so that just my foot is caught between my partner's legs. Right now, her right leg traps all the way up to my calf muscle between her heel and her butt. So what I want is to scoot away so that just my foot gets stuck between her legs like a knot at the end of a rope. Like so. You won't be able to initially pull your leg all the way out. You can make space for your other leg to come through. What I want is to get my left shin in front of my partner's near trap muscle. If I try to do that from here, I'll never be able to do it. So I just plant my butterfly hook in the floor and I scoot away so that just my foot is now trapped. Okay? Now from here, I can take my left knee in like so, and I can take my shin in front of my partner's face. From this position, I'm going to look to put weight down on my partner's head so that she can't posture up. What I don't want is to be in positions like this for extended amounts of time where she can start posturing up and ripping her arm out. Okay? So what I want is the second I scoot out and away, I initially keep my 2 wrists rolled so when she goes to posture up, I can put weight on my partner's shoulder. What keeps her pinned in this position and keeps her posture broken is my left elbow coming down over the rear deltoid. If my left elbow's up, she just postures and then she rips the arm out and she's gone. So my goal is to extend the hands into her hips and close my left elbow. This will, for some time, give me the ability to keep my partner's posture broken. So now she goes to posture up. It's not impossible, but it's going to take a little bit longer. So my knee comes through, my shin goes to the front of my partner's face, and then from here I close my knee in the back of my partner's deltoid like so. So now as she goes to posture up, I have my elbow coming down and I have a knee wedge on the top of her shoulder, on the back of her shoulder. Now I just flick my leg up and over the head like so, and from here we start to go into situations where I have my leg over the head. Now I use my foot to come to my partner's hip and I look to free my second leg. Okay? So I push on my partner's hip and I just pull my right knee in towards my chest and I just throw my 2 legs out and over my partner's back like so. Now pull your hands underneath your hips. My partner locks up tight like so, and I have 2 legs up and over my partner's up and over my partner's back. No matter how tight your partner locks, all I'm going to look to do is just take my two legs and straighten them. Lock up tight, tight, tight. I take my two legs and I straighten them. If I don't get a separation on the first extension, we just do multiple extensions with a kipping motion until we separate our partner's hands. Doesn't look like much, but no, I don't care how strong she locks, lock tight as you want. You will always separate your partner's hands from here. And now you have the option of rolling your partner through, coming to top position, rolling your partner through, moving into juji-katames, and various different situations where you can go on the attack. Okay, so this time we go in from half guard, the butterfly hook, and we lock a kimura like so. This time my partner locks her hands. My first thing is to keep her posture broken initially. What I don't want is an elbow pointing towards the ceiling. She'll always posture out of this. So my first thing is to take my elbow and close it down over my partner's rear deltoid. So now she goes to move out and away from me. It's a difficult thing to do. I scoot out and away, and I make space for my shin to come through. Now your foot here is stuck, as I mentioned before, like a knot at the end of a rope. So you won't be able to just pull your foot out. So I focus first on getting my left leg over, first by putting a knee wedge on top of the shoulder, and then flicking my leg up and over. Now, as I go to pull my partner's arm free, it's much easier to free my own leg by posting in my partner's hip. Okay? A lot of times you won't need to do this because just by pulling your partner towards you, you'll open up space and your leg can come out. But let's say your partner's sitting back heavy, you have a very big partner you're dealing with, I push on the hip and I extract my leg like so. Or now, I square myself up and she tucks her hands, move towards me. She tucks her hands underneath her own hip. Whenever I see this, I just straighten my legs. I can always separate my partner's hands. And now from here you have a variety of different things that you can do, whether it's moving into triangles, rolling your partner through, or switching into various attacks. Okay? Again, the key is keeping your partner's posture broken long enough to be able to throw one leg over. Once you get one leg over, everything becomes much easier from there. Okay? So this time we have a partner who just locks hands and refuses to move, bringing the legs up and over the head, and then going into all of our follow-up attacks once we separate the hand. All right, guys, so
I'm not fixing myself. We did 49 kimuras. That's how I'm gonna be now.
we did, and we have just a couple more. Actually, we're gonna have to leg attacks now. Okay, so this time our partner postures out of the kimura, and I just want to always have that mental habit ingrained into you guys where if we lose the upper body, we always gain the lower body. So this time we lock a kimura, and this time before we manage to start extracting my legs, we feel like we can't separate the hands. Our partner, it just explodes out, straightens the arm, and the arm comes free. Whenever I see this, we always have the opportunity now, like I spoke about before, to shoot up and move into underhooks on our partner, or we can go into attacks from here, or more than likely, as she goes to pull out and away, the far leg comes towards me, and from here, we go into scoops, where we can start entering into our partner's leg, like so, okay? Whenever the upper body moves away, the lower body's over there. If we manage to get the leg up and over my partner's back, for example, and my partner, let's say, for example, reaches through and peels my kimura grip off, like so, and then the hand comes free and she just explodes away from me, I can always find myself in positions where I can come in and start entering into my partner's legs in various ways. Okay, so again, it's not half guard, but just keeping you in the mindset of going into your partner's lower body whenever the upper body fails. So I go for a kimura, maybe I don't even lock the kimura. Maybe I have a butterfly half guard, I'm running a pseudo kimura, and before I can manage to lock, my partner's very sweaty or greased, and she just slips the hand out. We can always come in and start going into positions where we start attacking our partner's legs like so. Maybe she comes back into me, this time I go cross lat, and I start knocking her down to the floor like so. We go into all of our favorite transitions off of that. All right, so whenever I use kimuras, and a very common reaction before I can lock is people just rip out and away. Whenever I see the upper body moving fast away from me, I can always go into lower body attacks, okay? So whether it's before I get my leg position,
When my partner goes to pull away, we can go to any of the previous moves where we just come in. We scoop inside of our partner's leg and we go for various attacks from there. Or if I get my leg up and around, now my partner comes through and she peels my grip off and the hand slips out, we can always come through and either insert our leg back inside, or we can throw it outside Ashigarami. We can do various amounts of attacks in various different directions here, going into our partner's legs and going in for all of our favorite attacks off of that. Okay, so again, not too half guard related, but stemming from half guard and then going into a different attacking systems with kimuras and attacks on the legs when your partner postures out and away. All right, so obviously I spoke to you guys about how we're doing some kimura stuff, but not getting too off topic. That's most of the kimura stuff from a half guard, all right, just so you guys understand that there's more stuff that we can do with kimuras as far as taking legs out, going into locking yokos and kakus. We can start taking legs out and moving into situations where we actively spin all the way around before my partner even does anything. We can start going into situations where I sit my partner down and go into back attacks. We can go into situations where I start moving from kimuras into situations where I start coming up and we start playing games like this, where we start going into belly down jujis, and we can go into all of our other attacks right off kimura series, where you're more into a kimura series than you are a half guard series. I didn't include those because we're just getting too far off topic now, but just know that there are many other options from an initial half guard when you lock a kimura that we didn't go over today, just because it's too much stuff for this one instructional. But don't limit yourself to these. I know many of you probably have had a John's Kimura instructional, and I'm sure there's a lot more options from there. But just keep in mind that this isn't the only thing to do from the bottom half guard. Once you lock a kimura, you just go into a different system.